And this is why that for that 5 second, I don't know what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
I
have
think
to
we
believe
should be
we're
live
live
now.
now. Okay, great.
All right. I hope you guys saw the reason why the first 5 seconds, we are always just sitting, staring at each other. We are like, all right, has it started? Has it started? Not? All right. All right. So, welcome everyone to another data science session, data science club session. We will be discussing geospatial analysis this time. And again, we are doing an exercise that's on Kaggle. So if you guys can just go to kaggle.com and come to courses, there would be a geospatial analysis section. Click on that, and this is the page that you guys are going to see. So geospatial analysis is pretty common nowadays. You guys would have seen it on different websites and stuff, and a lot of um, I don't know, media companies like New York Times and all those recently have some geospatial trackers and everything, right? You see interactive maps that you can use, and that all falls under this geospatial analysis. So I thought
Yeah,
this is so yeah.
and it's used in a lot of industries too. I mean, it's used for tracking, demographics. Of course, everybody's seen those kind of maps before, I'm sure. It's used for tracking, well, pandemic responses, for example.
Yeah, and the oil industries can use it to
Yeah,
predict
construction, mining,
yeah.
anything where land is involved or where people spread out over land is involved. It's important.
Yeah. So it has a lot of application, and it is being used fairly commonly now. So we thought that having geospatial analysis, just performing some tasks, um, it it is part data science here because it is still kind of an exploration. It's not a machine learning model or something. Or I mean, you can have machine learning where you can predict the future kind of stuff with geospatial analysis, but mostly it's an I don't know exploratory tool kind of thing that we generally build with geospatial analysis. So we'll start with our first exercise. That would be our first map that we are building with GeoPandas. It is very similar to pandas. We'll go through the tutorial, or at least skim over the tutorial and then go to exercise. But you'll see a lot of features that will be very similar to how you use pandas. So data frames and all the different applications that you have there. And we'll keep it open just because we find it useful when we go to exercise, so that there is a place to come back to. All right, so we'll be learning about different methods to wrangle and visualize geospatial data. So you see this seems European, if I'm not wrong.
I see the word, I think,
Oh, it's
Cambridge.
Boston.
Yeah. So
All right, so this is northeast part of US. This is Europe.
yeah. I hope so.
Yeah, this I'm not sure what it is.
I don't know. When I zoom in on mine, maybe it's because it's Firefox. When I zoom in, the images don't get any bigger.
Yeah, it's Upper
I see.
Darby, Swarthmore, Haddonfield.
Looks like maybe Pennsylvania. I see Oh yeah, Pennsylvania, and then NJ and PA are on there. So probably.
Yeah. So it is Pennsylvania, so maybe Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yep, Philadelphia International Airport, right there in the bottom circle. Yep. So
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just went with when you saw that New Jersey one. I was like, all right, that seems like the one that is closest on the border.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And all right, so these are some of the real world problems that you can solve with geospatial analysis. Where should a global nonprofit expand its reach in remote areas of the Philippines? Where should Starbucks open its next store? So based on the map that you see, they want the most coverage, right? I mean, it's useful to have a Starbucks on every block, but I think people can walk for 3 blocks if that means that you can have more coverage around the city and stuff. So
And there's definitely if there's a lot of overlap between stores, there's only a marginal gain of having a second store. So
yes, and that's one of the places where you can have advantage of having a kind of a map or interactive map where you can place things and stuff. Um, which areas of Japan could potentially benefit from extra earthquake reinforcement, and some of these other topics. And does New York City have sufficient hospitals to respond to motor vehicle collisions? And as we know, New York City is really populated, so obviously they need a lot of hospitals and they would have more accidents just based on the fact that they have so much population. All right, so we'll go with some of the practical aspects of how you can get this data frame and how you can kind of represent them on a map. Reading data, so basically you just import GeoPandas as GPD. So we technically used to do import pandas as PD, so we are using GeoPandas as GPD. If you guys have seen our earlier videos, this is basically just importing a library, and we are kind of renaming it in a way that this is what we'll be using through rest of our exercise. So rather than typing in GeoPandas every time, we can just use GPD to denote that. So reading a file is simple. Actually, um, so there are different geospatial file formats. It seems like shapefile is the most common one that you'll encounter. And all of these files can be read via just this command read underscore file. So our full data is gpd.read file, and it is again a shapefile, SHP. And you can, similar to how you do with pandas data frame, you can just use the head function to get the first 5 values or first 5 rows in this data frame. So there is the shape area.
Yeah, it looks like those are summaries of the geometry column,
Yeah.
if I had to guess.
Yep. And each of the first 5 rows corresponds to a different forest. So we have wild forest, wild forest, wild forest. So for the rest of the tutorial, consider a scenario where you'd like to use this data to plan a weekend camping trip. Instead of relying on crowdsourced reviews online, you decide to create your own map. This way you can tailor the trip to your specific interests. Nice. Uh, I mean, too much work to find your next camping trip, but yes, it works for our tutorial. All right, so you have seen that you can use head functions. It is very similar to pandas data frame. You can check the type of the full data that we just generated from that shapefile, and you'll see it is a geo data frame. That's why you can use some of the functions like head and stuff. You can also use dot location or iLocation that you had in pandas data frame. And so what we are doing over here, yeah, is we are kind of using a subset of the data frame and making a copy of it in this new variable. That this is also going to be a geospatial data frame, but with just these 3 values. So it's class, county, and geometry.
Yeah, so we'll have 3 columns and
Yeah.
all the rows.
And you can use value counts. So on this class variable, you are kind of doing you do a sort and kind of like word count or something similar. So it's basically how many wild forests are there, how many intensive views are there. So unique. So first of all, you're finding how many unique values are there in the class and how many times they have been used. So there are 965 entries of wild forest, 108 entries of intensive use, 60 of primitive, and all this stuff. So you can, so wildlands would be again, so we are making, so we are using is in and location to again make a subset of that data frame that we just created. So we are seeing if the class is in wild forest or wilderness, then we make a copy of that and put it in this new data frame. Again, it's a GeoPandas data frame. But what's happening is first we had the full data, then we went with from full data, we just kind of did a subset of class, county, and geometry columns. And now from this data or this data frame, we are doing another subset where the class is always just going to be either wild forest or it's going to be wilderness. So
Yeah.
in total, there would be like 1,000 entries or something in this one.
So the first time we filtered on columns. This time we're using what we know in a column to filter on rows. So we're including rows that have wildforest or wilderness.
Yeah, that's a good way of just saying that's a filtering mechanism that we are doing over here.
Okay.
All right, so create your first map, and the first map is simple enough. You just plot it. It is a shape file, so it has some of the geometry values and stuff, so it can just go ahead and plot that map for you.
And that's really cool, but it doesn't help us because there's no context at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we'll get there, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right, so it contains a special geometry column. It contains all of the geometric objects that are displayed when we call the plot. So if you do violence.geometry.head, it gives you some values that there are in the geometry. So each entry will typically be a point, line string, or polygon. So in the code, we create 3 more geodata frames containing campsite locations, point, foot trails, line string, and county boundaries polygon. So we are getting a point of interest data. So this is basically going to give us the location, so where it should place it on a map. Foot trails, basically it's going to be a line string. So trails basically look like lines, right? I mean, they can be a circle, but it's still a line that's showing up.
A line is a good enough model for a trail, I think.
Yeah,
we don't need a polygon for that.
Yeah, and county boundaries is polygon.
Sure, makes perfect sense to me.
And we're getting all those 3 data. Next, we create a map from all 4 geodata frames. So we define a base map with county boundaries. So the first one would be just the county boundaries. Then on top of that, we impose all of these other maps. So we do a wildlands.plot, then campsites.plot, and trails.plot. So this will give us the map of the counties. I'm not sure which. Is this a state, or I don't know where it is from?
Oh, that's New York.
Oh, it is?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. And over here, we find all the wilderness and the wild forest. And inside there, you should be able to find what are the trails and maps. So it looks like the northeastern part of the state would be a great option for camping trip based on all the different criteria that this person had.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, that makes sense. If you look, and just looking at Google Maps really quick, there's far fewer highways there. almost like a big void. So.
All right, this feels complex at first, but you've already learned enough to do some important analysis. So now we'll get into our own exercise and see if we can identify remote areas of the Philippines where a nonprofit can expand its operations.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we'll keep our tutorial open just in case we have to go back. Most probably we'll have to go back, but we'll see.
Well, hold on. Go back up. I know that I thought that was an ad at first, and it kind of is, but there's a little more text up there that is important.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was an ad at first. And I was like, oh, what? They're putting ads in these now? No, it's actually part of the lesson.
Yeah, so the keyword.org. So like it mentioned, it's a non-profit organization that we are trying to find out how it can place its money in proper remote areas of Philippines. So in this example, Kiva Lenders is that non-profit company that is putting in the money.
Yeah, it looks like micro loaning, which is kind of cool. If you're interested in that growing third world country and developing countries, microloans is a good way to do it. You guys should check it out when you get a chance. It's a really cool concept.
Yeah. So it reaches some of the most remote places through their global network of field partners. These partners are local organizations working in communities to vet borrowers, provide services, and administer loans. So in this exercise, we'll investigate Kiva loans in the Philippines. Can you identify reasons that might be outside of Kiva's current network in order to identify opportunities for recruiting new field partners? So this is basically just finding out new places where we can add some new field partners so that those areas can be served with their organization as well. So with all Kaggle exercises. The first one is just basically setting up the environment for the rest of the exercises. It does import GeoPandas as GPD, and some of these other tools are so that we can get if one of the solutions that you have entered later on, if that's correct or not. So we'll just run that. Should not take that long. So use the next cell to load the shapefile locations at loans file path to create a geodata frame world loans. And so this one would be simple. It would be gpd dot read file. And you have already specified the path. You could have also specified the path inside here, but it's just good to go through variables. So loans file path. And you can just check that. This one was simple enough. All right, so next is plot the data. So run the next code cell without changes to load a geodata frame world containing county boundaries. All right, so this is how we are going to, so this is again, like we'll have to do a base plot and then we'll have to add plots on top of that. So let's see how we do. It's basically gpd.plot, so similar to something that we did over here. So you do a wildlands plot and Kansas plot. We'll stay with defaults, I guess, in this now. So ax equal to world dot plot, and we'll just leave everything as default. Do we have to add anything? Yeah, I don't know. We'll just leave everything as planned for now. So world loans dot plot, and we need to define the first thing. So axis, and let's see how it looks like. Default values.
Wow.
That did that much.
Looks like they've got everything. Oh, okay. So I did it with by copy pasting from the.
Yeah, because I think we didn't
Yeah.
copy anything over here, so it just looks like that it's similar.
Or alternately, the marker size might be important too.
Yeah.
Making it very small might be helpful.
All right. So now you can see what all areas it is working on. So it looks.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So it looks like Central America and parts of Southern America, Asia, Africa.
Yeah, Southern Africa. Even Turkey. A lot in Turkey too.
Yeah.
But here's a side note I want to point out. There's dangers with scatter plots when you have lots and lots and lots of records. The circles, the markers from one record might overlap a million other records. So you have no idea of the actual density in a given location. So as far as we can tell, South America and Turkey have the same number of loans or the same density of loans, which might not be true at all.
Yeah.
So be careful with scatter plots, folks.
That is true. All right, thank you for creating a map. So select loans based in the Philippines. So let's first take a look at this one. So we can identify that on the basis of
the ISO code or the name. ISO is probably more standardized. I don't know if we probably could trust the name, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember what's the ISO code for Philippines.
Let's find out. I'm going to Google it. It is PHL.
PH what?
PHL.
L. Okay. All right, let's see.
I wish I knew my NATO alphabet, but I don't.
Oh, it has PHL underscore loan, so should be
right.
right.
It's right there. Of course, right?
All right, so we do need to get this is defined as world loans. So let's go to world loans dot loc, where I forget the full command.
ISO underscore A3.
Oh yeah, yeah. So we can just define it as world loans dot ISO ISO underscore A3 equal to PHL, and then you make a copy of this. All right, let's see if
ISO A3. I think you need world loans dot. Oh yeah, that. Yeah. That might be what you need. I think yeah, string, of course. Of course. Oops. What's it say at the bottom there? Key error ISO A3. Well, I thought that was what it was.
it is ISO underscore.
Oh, ISO A3 is in world, not world loans. World loans. What is world loans uses country, so maybe we do need country. It depends on what they're asking for.
It does.
Yeah. So if you go way up to section 1, keep going.
So world loans.
Oh yeah, uncomment the world loans dot head at the bottom, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Yeah. See.
So we do need to use country and Philippines.
Yeah, looks that way.
Do I have the correct spelling? Oh no. Almost correct. All right. This.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh, also loc, whatever you want to call it, is square bracketed because it's an object whose get method is square bracket. Yeah.
All right. So we should have all the loans that Philippine has and this PHL underscore loans, or the people in Philippines have, the micro loans that we are talking about. So understand loans in Philippines, run the next code cell without change to load a geo data frame PSL containing the boundaries for all islands in the Philippines. So we'll run this.
Oh, when I did it, mine threw a runtime warning. Oh, yours did too. Okay. I don't think that's fatal though. I think it's just saying it's going to be slow.
Yeah. All right. So we'll again run the same thing. Use the PHL and PHL underscore loans data frame. So we'll go with
copy paste our earlier code, huh?
Yeah. Actually, yeah, that might be better so that we don't have.
There's no shame in copy pasting your code as long as you take care not to repeat yourself unnecessarily.
Yeah.
And as long as you understand what it is you are writing. There you go. Yeah, I made my marker size really tiny, and it looks less blobby.
Oh, okay.
It looks a little more finely resolved if you do that.
Where do we add that value?
After ax equals ax1, you can put comma space marker size, all one word equals some number. They've got examples there too. Yeah, probably just saw it.
Okay, how much did you?
I set it to 1 at first, and then I tried it with 0.5, but I think at 0.5 they get really, really tiny. So, but then again, folks, you got to watch out for scatter plots. They can be a little misleading sometimes.
Yeah. All right, so this is how the loans in Philippines look like. All right, so we can check.
Right, we did it. Woohoo!
All right, so this is basically building our first map. So we have built, or we have kind of represented how much or where the loans in Philippines are working. You can see that there is a big cluster over here. There is some cluster over here. There is nothing in between over here. There is very less loan in this area, and some of the smaller islands over here. Even this one is pretty sparsely located. So it at least gives you even initially, without even doing more analysis. I'm pretty sure we'll be doing some more analysis later on over here. You can get some idea. Okay, these might be the areas where you might have to concentrate with your loans if you want to really expand it across Philippines, or your partners across Philippines, so that you can start helping those people as well.
And if I were going to take this to the next step, I would take 2 measures. First thing I'd do is probably get a population density map and
Yes.
turn this into a loan density map, and then get like a loans per population going.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to hit an area that has five people, right? You want to hit an area with
Yeah,
lots and lots of people. That may be a reason why there's no dots on those central islands. It's because there's hardly anyone there. So,
that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, some of these smaller islands, I'm not seeing much activity over there. So it is possible that they are just so small that no one lives over there. And
we don't know that. Somebody from the Philippines, of course, might swoop in and be like, "No, somebody told us." I have no idea, but that's why I would research it, right? That's the important part, is research it.
yeah. So yeah, so this is basically our first exercise done. We'll have the second exercise next week. If you guys like it, and if you don't want to wait for us for next week, absolutely feel free to go ahead and complete all the 4 exercises. And at the end of the 4 exercises, there is this vaccine distribution map, or that is your own exercise that you have to do. So we'll be building that as well. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to um, post it in the comment section, and we will answer you. Or if you don't want to go that way, just send us an email or come to our office hours, and we'll be able to help you.
Yep.
I hope you liked this first video. I really liked drawing the maps this way. So
Yeah,
it
this is
is
cool.
fun. Yeah, it is fun for me. And since it has been becoming more prevalent in what I'm seeing on different websites and stuff, so it's good to have that skill in your bag.
Absolutely.
All right,
Great.
everyone.